Positive.
Oh, they were at that.
Sema? Sema? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, John. Thank you so much.
Yep, I just signed you co-host, and I'll do the same with Kate.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I don't know who was supposed to do it. I only had, panelist membership or whatever.
Hello.
Wait. Okay, you should be set now. Let me know if you need anything else.
Thank you.
Sure. See ya.
Okay. So Sima, you're here. And I see some people in attendees. I don't know. Oh, it looks like I can promote them.
I'm going to listen to this, but I'm going to just be doing other things, just so you know, okay?
Okay. Sure, no problem. All right, so who do we have here now? We have Sima holding on. I see Michael Whitehouse. Welcome, Michael. You're not so late in joining us as we had thought might happen. We're just getting started here. And I see James.
Okay.
But we do not have a quorum right now. Let me just send out an email and notify. Lisa Luck, that is, was just letting me know that she might have to go at 7:45. So I know she's paying attention here. Okay, so I'm just gonna make sure that get back to her so that she knows. Karen Adams just sent me a message too. Let's see. And I see Representative Foster is here as well. Thank you for joining. Okay. Well, I'll give them a minute because we've had an unusual start here. And I'll try to see how my screen sharing goes in the meantime. Okay. I see you're driving. Representative Whitehouse, I'm not sure if I should ask you if you can see my screen up.
I can see it, but I can't read it.
Yeah. So that's good. You can see it. It's doing what it's supposed to do.
Yep, I should be home in about 8 minutes.
Okay. So I believe we've started recording. So we'll have a little bit of a prelude here as we give other members a couple minutes to join. And then I have put together a draft of the meeting minutes, which is what I'm sharing here. That includes the wording of the rule that we put together last time and presented at the last RTM meeting on July, I think it was the 7th. And then two possible things that we could use to at least build from, two different avenues to address the concerns that were brought up in that meeting. I see Representative Luck is now here. Welcome, Representative Luck. And who else do we have? And Karen Adams. Okay. Okay, I just want to check. Representative Luck, could you unmute yourself and just let us know that you're here all right and hearing us?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, thank you very much. And Representative Adams, could you also give us a shout to let us know that you're here and can hear, and we can hear you. Okay. Representative Adams, I'm not hearing you. I'm not sure if I can do anything about that. Sima, would you be able to check and see if you could unmute Karen Adams?
Okay, I'll check. Sorry, I'm unmuted now.
Okay, thank
You
you.
couldn't hear me before, could you?
No.
Okay, hang on.
Oh, now I can unmute her. I didn't have that option before.
Okay.
Representative Adams, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. You can hear me?
We can, yes.
Oh, good.
Great, thank you. Okay, so it looks like we have here with us for the committee members, at least we have Representative Adams, Whitehouse, Representative Luck. I don't see Representative David Gauthier, but we do have a quorum. So why don't we go ahead and get started then? All right. So I was just saying that we're going to meet for our Rules and Procedures Committee meeting here. I have my draft notes up here that I'm sharing on the screen. Karen, I'm not sure that you'll be able to see them with the way that you're set up, and I apologize if that's the case.
Yes, I do see them.
You do, okay, because you're doing both, right? Phone and computer? Yes. Is that okay?
I've got you on my right side of the screen and your agenda notes thingy in the middle.
Okay. So this is my draft of my notes, like I just kind of gonna scribble a little bit, but I also put some stuff on here beforehand so that we could look at this and kind of have a visual as we go through the wording of this, because right, sometimes words matter in the way that we're doing this, and I hope this helps out. So I think the main question that was posed to us as a committee, and the reason why this was brought back to us again to meet in committee, had to do with the selection of student liaisons. So the meeting is held to go back to our proposed rule for student liaisons and reconsider the selection of student liaisons in a way that is open and fair to all high school level students who live in Groton, right? Citizenship is really the criteria here, but they may attend different schools or be homeschooled. So we had pretty wide support for not having it constrained simply to a Fitch High School student, right? We have Grosso Tech, we have the Marine Science Magnet School in town as well, and certainly Groton residents also go to other schools, like for instance, St. Bernard's or something like that. And other students are also homeschooled. So we have to kind of figure out what that means. We talked about in our last meeting too, sorry, I'm getting a lot of background noise, hope that isn't distracting. We have a lot of, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. Okay, we have two possible avenues, and that is to consider that the students are really chosen by the student body in the school, and that has its own difficulties if we're talking about many different schools. Or we have the option perhaps of having one of the RTM committees really be the ones who are kind of deciding and doing the selection of this. So I'd like to hear your general thoughts. The rule as we proposed it is here. And as I said, I've put in two suggestions as well that we can talk about, but I just want to open it up for your ideas beforehand.
So I think that what we're looking at is trying to create a flexible rule that would be adaptable. And that's why we had the principal of the school building set up rules that would allow the student council to select the students. But the concern is that that limits it to a school or implies a single school. If we want to have students from more than one school, we need to raise the number of possible student liaisons. But what could be a good solution would be to move that decision-making process into the RTM, so it's not, because I was trying to think of something outside the school that's not putting obligation on someone who has not accepted it, like the superintendent or the board of ed. But if we instead had, say, the education committee of the RTM, so replace, high school building principal with the RTM education committee, shall allow method to allow the student bodies to select select the student members, ideally through the student council, and possibly change it to as there shall be as many. I don't know, change the number from 2 to raise it, or again maybe make that flexible and put that number in the control of the education committee as well. I suppose the rules committee could do it too, but education seems to have their finger more on the pulse of the schools than our committee does. But so that way it can be dynamic. So as things change, they can adjust it without having to go through a rules change or some other process.
Okay. Representatives Luck or Adams, do you want to share something to get us going?
My thought was possibly saying, two students from Groton, which would then, shall we say, cover all of the high schools available. It would cover Grosso and such, and the magnet school and whatnot. And also then leaving the decision, picking candidates, and then the candidates could be vetted by the education department, as Representative Whitehouse suggested, and picked by the education
committee of the RTM.
Yes, the RTM education committee. Yes.
Okay. Okay, Representative Luck, do you want to add anything at this point?
Yeah, I was thinking the same, not the same thing as that, but that the RTM should have the ability to be able to select who's going to be the representatives
Okay.
from the high schools.
Yeah, I think those are really our two options. Either the RTM is going to do the selection, or student body, or somehow the schools. So I tried to create 2 different suggestions, one that followed each of those paths and follow those suggestions a little bit and see what it would look like. At the bottom of the page here, the first suggestion would be if we make that move. So instead of it being by the student body, it would be the RTM committee. We could potentially have maybe fewer liaisons than if we were trying to get one, say for instance, from every possible school.
Right.
Because there could be a lot of schools involved. It does not list the schools in that option, and it would also include homeschoolers. So because, right, they don't have an overarching student body or principal to coordinate this, so they might be excluded otherwise. I'm gonna just move that a little bit so you can see what that rule might look like, and this is totally just an idea, so let's talk about it. I had thought perhaps, and it could be 2 or it could be 4, but maybe if we're going to include people who might be at all schools, maybe go up to 4 liaisons. Again, that's open. And then the paragraph that's in yellow is about the selection process changing. So it says the RTM committee, and I put which in question mark. It sounds like most of you have already thought the education committee would be the most appropriate one, and I can certainly agree with that. The only other option I was really thinking, and that came up in our meeting for the full RTM, was perhaps community development and services.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Yeah, just because it's about, right, developing community and not necessarily about education, what the education committee handles, which is more likely to be strictly Groton education school system and not things outside of that. I can see either. I think I would be okay with either, but I left it open in this just to explain. So the RTM committee, whichever, will be responsible for communications and the selection of student liaisons. The RTM committee will notify local high schools and publicize in Groton Town communications about this opportunity at least 3 months in advance of the next term. Interested high school students will submit requested materials to the RTM committee chair for review. This method may also be used to fill vacancies. Students who are liaisons to the Board of Education are not eligible. So that's one way to do it. Maybe we don't need to be as specific as far as what the committee would be doing in their role in this, but I thought it might be good to explain that they're the ones who are putting information out there to get it to potential students and making the choice. So that's why I phrased it that way. So the second possibility is more similar, I guess, to what we had originally put in, but as I was trying to write in what it would look like, it got really difficult. So I have to say I'm leaning more towards the first suggestion now. My goal in putting this together was to keep it so that the student liaisons were chosen by the student bodies with principal guidance. But still, if we want to be inclusive of homeschoolers, how do we do that? Would we still need to have an RTM committee who is a contact to include that kind of situation? In that case, maybe they should just be doing the whole thing instead of, sometimes it's a principal, sometimes it's going right to a committee. Perhaps allows up to 1 student per school. The total would not be clear. Representative Adams, it didn't sound like you wanted to go to the potential number that might include. Maybe not, but for me, this opens up possibly a much larger number of liaisons if we wanted to try to include people in different situations. And so I didn't actually really change any in that yellow blocked selection paragraph because I wasn't sure how to do that with this, except for just saying that the high school building principal of whichever school that a Groton resident lives in has this responsibility, and that I'm not quite sure that we could really do that, right? Give every principal in any potential school some responsibility to get the student body to decide. And would we want a student body deciding who's the Groton student liaison when the student body is not all Groton students, right? If they're in schools that have all different students. So I guess for those reasons, I kind of got stumped on suggestion 2 and went back to suggestion 1 and would mostly support that. So I'm going to just put it up so you can see both of those.
Yeah,
And
I think the second one's ambiguous because it has a finite number of liaisons divided among multiple principals who can theoretically appoint to the same seat, which seems like a recipe for trouble.
Well, I wouldn't want to leave it like that. I just we'd have to decide what that is. Yeah.
I think in principle, it'd be great if there was a school-based method, but then that excludes the homeschoolers. It excludes students going to others, magnet schools outside of town and whatnot. I think what you do with suggestion 1 solves the problem. And ultimately, there's going to be a fairly finite number of students that would want to do this. And if we get 6 great applicants, then we can revisit that and maybe change the rules isn't that hard for a small change. So if we really do get a stampede of amazing candidates, then we can be like, you're all amazing. Send it to the rules committee. See if we can raise the cap. The other thing I'd say is that 3 months prior to September 1st is June 1st, and kids are either not in school or about to leave school on June 1st. So
well,
you might
they're in
want to
school
change
for a couple weeks. But we could, I wanted them at least to be at school and put the word out, and then they could think about it over the summer and get things in. But I'm fine with adding another month or whatever people might think is useful.
Yeah, I'd say
I would say by June 1st.
So you're okay
What-
with the 3 months?
That is 3
then?
months. I'd say 5 months prior, because that puts you on April 1st.
Okay. So between, should we go for
It-
4?
It puts it, no, well, 4 puts it right in the budget season.
Well, it's not for us. This is for the communication, not the selection.
Right, right. But they still have to actually take that's going to be the legwork part of it. You know, contacting the schools, making sure they put something out, doing a little bit of work. So, so that's why I say we want to put it before the budget season, so they're not, it's not late April and they're like, oh shoot, we got to contact the schools. We sent a letter. It's fine. I got a budget to worry about.
Well, I said at least 3 months, thinking that probably they would want to do it earlier, but
Okay.
that would be the latest time that something like that should go out while students are still in school. Would you be comfortable with that idea, or do you still think it really should stipulate earlier?
I'd put earlier than that, because when a deadline's June 1st, you tend to do it around June 1st. Especially with the dividing line of the budget season, you know, it's either going to be before budget or after budget. So they're probably not going to be thinking about it until, until May 20th, when the budget's done.
Okay, what I'll do is I'll say at least 4 months. That does bring us to May 1st, but
Mhm.
hopefully we have a committee chair who's trying to do this beforehand, and
Okay.
they know that that's the last time.
And at
that
least
they
puts it
can
in
get
before budget rather than after budget. So I like that.
They certainly could do it well before too.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so it sounds like you're pretty okay with the first suggestion, Representative Whitehouse.
Yep. Yeah. And,
Uh,
and that's the education committee, because they're already tied in with the schools. So any other committee has to establish those contacts. Education, the superintendent might be showing up at their meetings anyway.
Well, they'll have the context for the Groton public schools, but not for the others. But sure, that is an advantage.
Mhm.
Right?
I'd prefer the
Representative
community
Adams?
services.
Oh, Representative Luck, sorry, go ahead.
I'd prefer the community services and development.
Can you explain why?
Not that because I'm the chair of it, but one of the suggestions that you said is because it's a community thing. And the education committee seems to be more focused on the budget. They're not necessarily focused on who's going to be representing the RTM, and the RTM, you know, even in some of our budgets, we have stuff to do with the RTM itself. Like the money that the RTM gets from the budget and stuff like that.
Okay. Representative Adams, do you have any thoughts?
I've been leaning actually much more to the suggestion number 1. I think it fits the criteria better. And as Representative Whitehouse said, you know, we may have, 5 or 6 well-qualified students who are interested. I think then it should be left up to the committee which students they want to put on. And if they want to have all, say, 6 candidates because they're totally outstanding, then for that particular time frame, they could do 6 candidates. The next go around, there may only be, 2. And even if you had 6 candidates who were interested, again, there may only be 2 or 3 that, would really be outstanding that whichever committee has the say. They'll just do the picking.
So what do you think about the wording of as many as 4 student liaisons? Do you think we should change that?
It doesn't really make any difference to me as far as listing a number. I think that's relatively irrelevant. I know, you definitely want, say, 2.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I agree. Are you okay with leaving it at 4? And then if there's more that are really great people to have on, we can just, deal with that and hopefully make a quick rule change if that's needed?
Well, I don't think that a change would be needed at all, ever. Just a matter of the committee.
Well, this says as many as 4.
The committee is making the selection.
Right, but this says as many as 4. So if they wanted more than 4, that would go against our rules.
Well, rules are meant to be broken.
They could ask for a rule change, and I doubt that there would be many problems. But I just want to make sure you're okay with the wording as it is now, and that we could.
I really don't care one way or the other.
Okay. Do you have any thoughts on which RTM committee you think would be best to do this selection and communication?
No, I don't. Representative Luck does have a valid point. Community development. That might be the better option to go with, especially if they're doing any kind of vetting during the budget season. I think the Education Committee is really tied up at budget time, much more so than various other than finance. Most of the other committees are not tied up as much as education and finance would be. So being a community initiated suggestion, so to speak, maybe we should leave it with community development.
Representative Whitehouse, did you want to talk to that?
Yeah, so I didn't realize that Representative Luck was the chair of the Community Development Committee. So I think one of the most important things of anything like this is that whoever's going to be doing it first and set all the precedents is on board with it and excited to be doing it. And so if she is the chair and she thinks her committee is the best committee to do it, then I'm all for it if she wants to be the one setting the precedents. So
Sounds good to me.
I also see that Representative Chase had his hand up. Representative Chase, did you want to add some? I'm sorry, Chase Foster. Would you like to add?
Sure. I'm not trying to play devil's advocate in any way. I'm going to support whatever comes out of this. I'm just trying to think of actual execution of the rule itself. And I just want to make sure that whatever it is something that's advertised to students that want to do it, and that so that I'm not sure that I see how that part's going to happen in terms of engaging the student body, whatever that means in terms of all of students in Groton. But really the inspiration from this was the students that set up the protests, and I'm still amazed at the way that they handle themselves, and I want to make sure that those students are first off targeted in terms of knowing that this exists and are engaged and want to actually be a part of it. So that's all I have to say, and I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
That's a great point, Representative Foster. I think as far as my thinking goes, as far as the wording, the committee will be responsible for communications and the selection of student liaisons, was to make sure that there was an RTM committee that exists with the task to communicate to both through schools and through regular town communication. So maybe on the town website, maybe on, something that is at the library where students might regularly go, something along those lines to try to, do what we can to reach those students who are not just at a Groton public school, but any other school and reside in Groton. I understand that could be a challenge in some ways, but we do have a lot of avenues to do that too. So I didn't want to be too specific in the wording of it, because things like using social media or whatever, you know, there's so many different ways to communicate. I didn't want to pin it down. And I think that the chair of the committee hopefully will be able to try out those different avenues and be pretty successful in getting the word out. I don't know if that speaks exactly to what you were bringing up, but that's how I took it. If I'd missed something, please let me know.
I think that sounds great. Thank you.
Okay. So we, I think, have a pretty good consensus. So we all seem to at least partly support Community Development and Services Committee.
We all do.
So we could put that in here, and which I'll do right now, and vote on that. And that certainly could come up and be debated at the full RTM level as well. Okay, so we have right now that there may be as many as 4 student liaisons to the RTM whose purpose shall be to share the perspectives of younger town residents. These liaisons shall reside in the town of Groton and shall serve a term from September 1st to August 31st of the following year. Preferably each individual liaison shall serve for 2 terms. The RTM Community Development and Services Committee will be responsible for communications and selection of students. The RTM, again, Community Development and Services Committee, I suppose add that later since we specified it, will notify local high schools and publicize in Groton Town communications about this opportunity at least 4 months in advance of the next term. Interested high school students will submit requested materials to the RTM committee chair for review. This method may also be used to fill vacancies. Students who are liaisons to the Board of Education are not eligible. And last, a student liaison shall have the privilege of being recognized to speak during meetings in the same manner as RTM members, although they may not vote or make motions. So let's, I guess I move to take a vote on recommending this. Would anybody second that?
Second.
Is that Representative Adams, I believe? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, all who vote to recommend suggestion 1, please say aye.
Aye.
Any votes against recommending suggestion 1? Okay. Any abstentions? All right. Well, we will, that was a 4-0-0 vote in support of recommending this. So I will write up my notes and share that. I will probably email it out to all of the RTM when I send it to the town clerk to just make sure everybody gets all of that in advance. A quick note on the other item we talked about last month about the reimbursement for childcare. We have not yet heard from the town attorney yet if there might be any conflicts with how the wording is in our charter currently. So when I hear more on that, we'll certainly share. Okay.
Yep. Also,
Any-
just want to make one other note about the wording. So what this would do is pretty much leave it in the CD&S committee's hands to set deadlines for applications and processes and procedures. That whole thing would be all up to Representative Luck.
Yes. And our timing, being that it is July 23rd, makes it very hard to do this before May 1st for the coming school year. I don't know if we should, I don't think we should include something like that in the rule, but I think perhaps if you feel comfortable, we could suggest that, you know, as soon as possible, the Community Development and Service Committee Chair, Representative Luck, could start the process to see if we could get some students in as much as, or as early as possible for the school year coming up, right, and not miss that opportunity.
Right.
I think we basically would be in the vacancy situation at that point. We just have 4 vacant seats.
Does anybody have any other thoughts on that, or is that good?
Yep.
All right. Well, I appreciate you all taking the time to come and talk about this. Thank you very much. It's good to touch base with you. And I will take a motion to adjourn if anybody,
Motion
unless
to
we have,
adjourn.
we don't have
Second.
any other business. Good. Okay. Adams and Whitehouse. Okay. So we are adjourning at 7:54. And have a good evening. I'll see you at the next monthly meeting.
All
All right, night.
See
Night.
you there.
Thank
Good
you
night,
guys
thank
so
you.
much. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.